Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I guess it's good morning in Egypt and the Netherlands. It's another Tuesday. It's another virtual talk day at IWES platform, brought to you by the RSVP Events Management. This is Cardella, and I'm your host. This week, I have invited one of the women coach based in the Netherlands that I met last September at the Independent Women Summit. She is dedicated to helping women professionals and entrepreneurs in transition 10 times their impact. She believes that the secret to success, prosperity, and fulfillment our lives lies in our innate intelligence. She has fulfilled various corporate leadership roles within IT and finance for over 17 years and has been coaching educated professionals since 2009. 2009, not 19, sorry. Here are the few of the things she helped others with to increase our positive impact from a place of purpose and personal values, to remain true to ourselves regardless of the circumstances, effective communication, business and personal through presence and connection. Please welcome Arabella Seegers. Good afternoon, Arabella. I guess it's still morning in the Netherlands.
Yes, good afternoon and good morning.
Yeah. Thank you for being with us today. I was just thinking about the chat we had last time, and I remembered you saying that you were born in Saudi Arabia, as your dad was working there a long time ago. Is that the reason why they named you as Arabella?
Very clever. Actually, it was. Yes. It was. Well, we only lived there a short time, about 2 years, and then we moved to Aruba and so traveled all over. I'm the child of expats. So, and that's why I guess this community feels really comfortable to me.
Thanks for sharing that. I will leave you the virtual stage.
Thank you. Thank you, Carla. And then I will share my screen. Let me see. I continue. There we go. And my slideshow. Well, good morning, everyone. So I'm really happy to see you here. And maybe some of the ladies will join us shortly. I've got some extra sounds in the background. Do you hear that too?
I'll just mute the others.
Sounds like a lot of water sloshing around somewhere.
Yeah, I just mute someone. Sorry about that.
Okay, yeah, that's better. I'm already nervous enough, so I don't need extra sloshing. Thank you. That's really great. So, good morning again, and welcome to this talk. And I've called this Discover Your Inner Compass to Success, Prosperity, and Fulfillment. And it's a lot of words, and they sound a little, huge, but at the end of the talk, I hope that you'll have a better understanding of the kind of things that are a block to your success and your happiness. And you'll uncover a secret to creating more ease in your life. And so you'll discover how you hold yourself back and what actually sets you free. I've got my website on there, and I'm just going to go to the next slide. And I'd like to invite you to maybe get pen and paper ready, because I want to make this interactive. I think that'll be most interesting for us, and I'd like to get to know you a little better as well. So get pen and paper ready, because I'm also going to be sharing some questions that will invite you to take some time to reflect. And you might want to write them down or share them in the chat as I ask. And I estimate this presentation will take about 45 minutes, after which there's time for Q&A. So make a note of your questions if you have them along the way, or if you really can't stop yourself, ask a question in the middle. That's okay. And we'll just see how we go. Okay, shall we do that?
Yes.
Thank you. Actually, that reminds me because I can't see the chat. Let me see if I can see the chat. I can't see the chat. Is there a way I can see the chat in here?
Yeah, it's on below part. There is a chat thing.
Is that it? No, that's. Is it on the left or the right?
Below. You will see your mute, start video, participants, and then there will be a chat. It's just next to your share screen.
Yeah. Let me see. Oh, okay, there's a chat. Okay, so I've got the chat on. So I'm going to try to look at the chat and keep talking. So, okay. So what I want to invite you with, just to get landed, because some of us may have already had a really busy morning, and let's just get really present. So I want to invite you to take a deep breath in and out. Take another deep breath in and out. And then just let your breath go and feel your belly as you breathe. And become aware of the weight of your seat in your chair. Relax your shoulders. And don't forget to breathe now. And let's calm down a little bit. And just notice how it feels to arrive into this moment as we become present. And notice how you become more and more present with every breath. So let's get started. I'd like to ask you, would you share with me in the chat how many of you are entrepreneurs or employed, or maybe transitioning from employment to entrepreneurship? Or maybe you're a stay-at-home mom. I'd love to hear that. Entrepreneur, says Natalia. Renu says entrepreneur. Asli is an entrepreneur. Kirsten is an entrepreneur. Great. Yeah, so we've got some entrepreneurial women in here. That's great to see. So I really hope this information will help you. Yeah, we have very good participants today. Yeah, it's great. Well, anything is good. It doesn't really matter what you do, just to get an idea of where we are at. So as an entrepreneur, I'm sure at one point you started out with a dream. There was something that you really wanted to do. So let's just take this moment, and I want to ask you, think about your professional situation at the moment. Now, if you had a magic wand, or if I had a magic wand, and I could wave it around and make every dream come true, what would you dream of? What would you want more of? Think about that for a moment. What would you want more of? Who would you love to be with? Or maybe, what would you love to learn? If anything were possible, where would you want to go? Or perhaps even as an entrepreneur, who do you want to impact? What is really important to you? So share it with the chat if you have an answer. If you don't, you can keep it to yourself as well. Or maybe you don't know the answer just yet because, maybe you've never asked yourself this question. We don't ask each other this question. And we don't usually talk about it because it feels a little difficult. And we're also much too busy to dream. We don't allow ourselves to dream. I'm moving on to the next slide, but okay, there we are. So that was your dream. So share it in the chat. I've got one. Asli would like to reach more people at a time. Would love to reach more people at a time. Yes, and what message would you like to get to them? So that's great. So you would like to increase your impact. That's what I'm getting. Yeah, great. Our lives are so busy. And let me tell you a story about a man and a horse. So there's a man on a horse, and he comes galloping by with a very important mission, it seems. And there's another man standing by the side of the road, And he calls out to him, "Where are you going?" And the man on the horse says, "I don't know. Ask the horse." So that's a Zen story. And this story for me is about how we tend to charge through life, always onward. And by doing that, we run the risk of losing the sight of what's really important, what we really want to do, and what we really care about. We tend to respond automatically to events without giving them a second thought. I see another dream. I dreamed to be a professor since starting my university to impact on people. That's amazing. So you've actually achieved that. Yeah, so you're living your dream. Wonderful. Great to hear. That is one way to impact people, absolutely. So as you know, as women, a lot of us feel pressure to always be proving ourselves, to be proving ourselves. Sometimes we feel like we have to perform better than men, like we have to be a successful entrepreneur, like we have to be beautiful women, like we have to be good daughters to our mothers. You know, there's so much pressure in our lives all the time, and we just keep going on. We never take downtime, and we never stop to question, you know, what are we doing? What are we really doing? In fact, I don't know about how it is with your society, but I know here that even when we take downtime, we're still performing, because we go to a yoga class, but we have to do the yoga really well, right? And afterwards, we have to feel rested and ready to go. So we're constantly busy, and it's become the ultimate status symbol because it suggests that we're really contributing, that we've got a meaningful life. But it disconnects us, and it keeps us disconnected from what really matters, inside as well as outside. So let me tell you why I know this. And this is because, so you already know, my name is Arabella Seegers, and I'm 55, and I have a teenage daughter. I'm married. And like I said before, I'm the child of expats. I grew up in Southeast Asia and the US, and I finally came to the Netherlands, and I am Dutch. Now, I've got a university background and a corporate background in IT, and it's in my corporate background that I actually burned out. Not once, not twice, but 3 times in a row over the course of about 10 years. And so basically, I was the rider on the horse. You know, I was just going on, working really hard, and I wanted to discover the limitations of what I could do. So I thought there were limitations to that, but I discovered that the limitations were not in my mind. You can keep working hard, but at one point, you know, it's just going to give up. I had a colleague project manager who was working for me on a project of mine, and he once told me that I was the hardest working person he had ever seen in his entire life. So at the time, I took that as a compliment. So I have since learned that that is a warning signal, not a compliment. So working hard brought me a lot of success in my life and a feeling of pride. But ultimately, my solution to every problem that I ran into was to work hard, you know, because I held the belief that as long as I keep working hard, it will reward itself and all my troubles will go away. So I don't have to tell you that that's not how life works. So I thought I would feel better about myself, but I didn't. So the past couple of years after that, I left my corporate life about 7 years ago. I went on a journey of discovery about why some people burn out. Why do some people keep burning out? And why do some people never burn out? You know, what is the difference? And what I ultimately learned is that people who are optimistic by nature and people who have a high degree of resilience, they don't burn out easily because somehow they are able to maintain that balance within themselves, and they have a different way of looking at life. They have a different way of looking at the world. But the good news is and it turns out, by the way, that that's about 20% of the people, which means that 80% of the people are not as well protected by their resilience. Now, the good news is I've discovered that resilience can be grown. You can grow more resilient, and you can, therefore, not only protect yourself against burnout, but you can actually thrive and grow bigger much easier than you think. And it's due to something that we all have inside of us. And that's what I want to tell you about. So now, as a coach, I coach resilient professional women who want to transition. So a lot of my clients are transitioning from maybe employment to becoming an entrepreneur, or moving from one career to another, making changes in their lives that often, help you, that often make you second guess yourself. But I believe that everything that we need is already within us. We just need a little help to coax that out. So what holds us back? There are a few elements that I'd like to tell you about, and it's by no means complete. I'm sure you can think of a lot of things yourself. Let me see the slide again. Oh. So first of all, one of the biggest things that hold us back in our own development is our inner critic. And you can call it inner critic. Sometimes it's called a saboteur or a gremlin or a judge. Say yes if you know what I mean. It's that voice inside you that constantly tells you that you're supposed to do something, or you're not doing the right thing, and it's criticizing you all day. And sometimes you hear it and sometimes you don't. So do you recognize this inner critic? Is that something that speaks to you? So maybe there are some things that your inner critic tells you. I know, for example, that mine, so share that with us in the chat if you recognize this. I know that my inner critic, I once said I was up for a promotion for a different kind of function. I was really excited. It was a new function. And I remember I blurted it out to somebody, wow, I don't know if I'm good enough. And I didn't necessarily mean not good enough as a person, but not good enough to fulfill that position. It scared me. I didn't realize at the time that that's not me. That's not the essence of me that was saying that. It was my inner critic that was saying, you're not good enough to do this. And that was making me doubt myself. So yes, I can see, yes, sometimes, there's in the chat. Yes, sometimes, but with mine lately agreed to talk only positive. Yeah, that's good. Have a lot of that. Sometimes due to the masculine society. Oh, absolutely. They don't make it easier for us. Yes, more in the past was telling me you can't do this. You've never done this, but no longer. It's actually fun to do new stuff. Great. It is, Kirsten. It is. Yeah, but that judge is always going to be there no matter what you do. And you know why that is? It's because our society also has all these rules that you're probably familiar with this. Our inner critic is closely tied to the rules that society has for us. So all these kinds of cultural expectations, like, for example, I'll just name a few, and maybe you can put in the chat your own rules that come up. So, for example, we all think that every woman wants to have children. It's like a rule. If you don't want children, there's something wrong with you, right? So then there's this kind of unspoken rule that men are tough. So men have rules about them too. So men can't show weakness or be vulnerable. Then we believe that if you want to be successful, you have to work hard. Apparently, we can't achieve success without a lot of hard work. How about love? Some of us may believe that love always equals pain at some point. Or maybe some beliefs about money. Some of us grow up believing that money is evil, or that money is, it's the source of temptation or evil. How about the belief that women should be beautiful? A lot of people have this belief. I see here in Arab countries, children, let me get the chat out of the way. In Arab countries, children's responsibility as a mother. Yes, absolutely. And it goes the same in the Netherlands, actually. We have this expectation that women don't get to work. If women work full time, then they must not be good mothers. That's what we believe. And Ashley says it's usually because we measure ourselves with others' rulers, so the result does not satisfy. Yeah, we compare ourselves to others as well. So we always, we always fall short. So how about this one to close off? Women have entrepreneurs always work harder than anyone else. Do we believe that because we're an entrepreneur, we have to work harder than anyone else? Whatever happened to having fun with work means making it easier. So I have to tell you though, I'm still practicing with that, to be honest. Yeah, I see here, that's how our parents teach us that money is evil. Yeah, a lot of parents do teach us that. Yeah. I was talking to Carla about some of the topics that women struggle with, and she pointed out their lack of confidence. And lack of confidence can hold us back. We feel, you know what, I am going through this. So support energy draining goals and distractions. And then I was going to go through to these slides actually. So we talked about the inner critic and the social rules. We talked about what your rules are, the ones that you've had in your life, and lack of confidence. So there we are. Yeah, forgot all about my slides. Sorry about that. So here's what I think about confidence. We tend to think that being successful at something is going to give us confidence, right? So in fact, but it's never lasting. In fact, many high achievers suffer from what is called an imposter syndrome. And an imposter syndrome is when somebody doubts their own talents and accomplishments, and they're constantly in fear of being found out, being a fraud, that everybody's going to discover that they're not so good. And a lot of highly successful women actually suffer from this. Did you know, for example, that Nicole Kidman, the Hollywood movie star, she suffers from imposter syndrome? And suffering from that means that you push yourself to work harder, you're afraid to make mistakes. You keep working hard at gaining knowledge because you're constantly afraid that you don't know enough. And it'll also hold you back from speaking up at work, for example, or seeking help, or maybe accepting your own limitations as just part of being human. And I'll share with you a little story. I was watching the Graham Norton show. Are you familiar with Graham Norton? And type yes in the chat if you know what I mean. He interviews Hollywood movie stars in a comical way. Yeah, Kirsten says, yes, it helps to take in experiences instead of making mistakes. That helped me a lot over a year. Yeah, very good. It does. Yeah, love him. Experiences do help give you confidence. So I was watching the Graham Norton show, and he had Meryl Streep and Hugh Grant. Is it Hugh Grant? And they were talking about a movie that they did together, and they were shooting together. And apparently Hugh Grant didn't have much. He was nervous. So he asks Meryl Streep, who is, of course, an accomplished actress. He asks her, "Are you ever nervous? Or do you get nervous?" And then Meryl Streep says, "Well, you ask me that every single day. Do you get nervous? Do you get nervous?" And then she says, she was looking back at the shoot, and then she says, "Well, the first week I wasn't nervous. And then the second week I wasn't nervous. But then they got up to Carnegie Hall. They had to do some show there, and she got really nervous. She was terrified, she says. And that was when already the shoot, it was late in the shoot. And then she says, what's really hard is chat shows. I get terrified with chat shows. So if it's okay for Meryl Streep to get nervous and insecure, then, what are we really worrying about? And confidence is not something to achieve. Confidence it's there inside of you. And it's like Kirsten says, your experiences, if you look back at your experiences, you've got everything that you need to take the next step. And it's your inner critic that tells you that you need confidence, but you don't. You've already got it. So what if, just think about this for a moment. I don't know if this is an issue for you at all. If you were really confident, right? Share in the chat. What if you were really confident, what would you do that you're not doing now? Would you share that with us in the chat? Or think about that for a moment. If you were really more confident than you are now, what is it that you would do? So while you're thinking about that, let me see. Publish my podcast. Oh, awesome. Yes, go ahead and do that. You know, there's never a better time than now. And since it's all about acquiring experience, as you're always going to make mistakes and do it differently in the beginning than you are in the end. You're going to get better and better and better. That's what you need to know. Ashley says, I'm really confident, but when I get a bit more, we'll publish my book. Awesome. Yeah. Do you really need confidence to publish your book? Right from your heart. Yeah. I keep doubting myself, says Fariha. That's really understandable. That's our inner critic that's telling us that we're not good enough, right? And there's a part of you that I'm going to talk about in a little bit that's going to help you realize that you are everything you need. Gelgot says, I'm confident about my ability in searching, so I'm publishing my papers and focusing on women empowerment now. Awesome. Yeah, that's really great. But we need that. We need that. And here, Carla is encouraging Fariha. You're very good at it. So Gelgot says, to help women in all over the world. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we need that. I think we are at the point where women need to rise and we need to support each other in a good way. Thank you, Carla. That's great, Professor Gada. Okay, so the last thing that I want to talk about today about, no, actually it's not the last thing, it's almost the last thing. We're talking about the things that hold you back. Now it says support, and that's weird, right? Because you think support doesn't hold you back. Well, let me tell you a story. I had a client several years ago, and she had 2 kids at the time. She had had a higher education, and she'd stopped working to take care of her kids. But she was getting a little restless, and she wanted to start working again. But she had been struggling with what to do, how to combine work and exactly what to do next with her profession. And she had turned to her girlfriends and her mother and family, and she'd been talking about this for 2 years. And the point is that she got support in terms of they were all listening to her, but they were all telling her what to do. And somehow, none of what they said actually struck a chord with what she really felt in her heart. Because the thing is with support around you, when you start something new, what your support, the people that love you, the people that know you the best are going to do is that they're going to try to maintain the status quo, unless you're very lucky. But most people will feel a little threatened about taking a risk. And I actually know about this, a friend of mine, he wants to start a great venture. I'm not his coach, I'm a friend, and I'm frightened for the risks that he's taking. And that's what's going to happen when you come with new ideas to your support. So we started working, and within 5 sessions, she decided on something totally different that had never come up at all. And she actually went ahead with that. She took action. She did a written course she became a dietitian, a written course, and that was a course that took a year. She did that next to her 2 kids that she had at home, and she started her own business after that. So that just tells you how much amazing power we have inside of us. You know, if we get the right support, the kind of support that builds us. Ashley says, recently I learned asking questions and how to ask. Yes, that's really difficult because we don't learn that. Now on the stage with a method called Healology, where I'm inspiring them. So once done, the book is there to inspire. Yes, so that's where your book is coming from your own experience. That's awesome. And Professor Gada, I think that's you. Without my family support, I will never be here today in my career. Yeah, yeah. So family can be very important to support you. You really need them. Support is very important, as it is like our aspirins, especially if we're leading a community. Thanks that I have empowered women beside me. Yeah, the right support is good. And you know, with the people that love you, you get to be vulnerable. So there's a question to ask near you're working with Dr. Hanan. So I'm just going to continue. Let's see the slide again. So this is funny, right? Energy draining goals. We learn to set goals when we're making plans for our business or making plans for a career, whatever. We have to set goals, right? Everybody tells us that's a good thing because you need to work to goals and it helps you to focus. Now, let me ask you this. Think about your own goals for a moment. Maybe write them down. Maybe there's one that pops up, a goal that you've got set for yourself. And ask yourself, do you really care about this goal? Does it really serve to drive you? Does it inspire you? Is it vitalizing? Does it make you really happy? Does it excite you? Does it serve as a signpost towards your life's purpose? So this goal of yours, is it aligned with your values? And does it, you know, if you've got that goal in mind, will you be able to see opportunities coming by as they do? So think about that for a moment. I'm going to see the chat. Learning from her. Great, a friend of mine is in her group. Well, I guess that's about Dr. Hanan. Very much butterflies and bellies. Is that about the goals, Asli? Yeah, that's great. That's exactly the kind of feeling that you want with goals. Opportunities are self-created. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. You know, if you're on the right path and your goals are aligned with your values, you're going to notice the things on your path that are actually aligned with your values. Yeah, that's great. Let's see. Now I've got distractions here. Of course, we know all about distractions, right? We're on our way to goals and we know all about distractions. And I'm not going to talk about the cliche distractions like your phone and a computer and stuff like that. What I want to point out is the realization that we have a monkey brain. That the Buddhists call it a monkey brain. It's because it jumps from one idea to the next. Just think about how your thoughts bounce around all day. They bounce around all day. They go from one topic to the next topic. And does anybody know how many thoughts we have a day? So write it in the chat. How many thoughts do you think you have in your mind in a day? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? How many thoughts? Let's see, 100,000. No, it's not 100,000. But actually, I'll tell you, it's close. Anybody else want to wager a guess? Too many, cannot count. Yeah, actually 20,000, says Natalia. So it's in between. Actually, scientists have made an estimate and they've made a consensus. They've agreed on 50,000 thoughts a day. So yeah, Freya says, my brain is like a million channels jumping from one channel to another. It is, absolutely. So we have 50,000 thoughts a day. So when you think about how many of those thoughts are actually inner critic thoughts, you know, that's definitely going to hold you back. But we're talking about distractions. And the thing is, with all these thoughts jumping around, you know, what happens also is that you're working on something, you know, you're on focus, and then something suddenly happens. And you look, oh, that's much more interesting. At least, I don't know about you, but this is what happens with me. I get to working on something for 2 weeks, and then some new idea comes along, and I think, oh, I want to do that. So I call it the shiny object syndrome. You know, you're working on something, and you see all these small attractive ideas and shiny objects that distract you. So that's going to hold you back. And it's going to take you away from, you know, what your purpose, what you're really working towards. So it's kind of like that horse that keeps galloping. So what would happen if the rider slowed down the horse? What do you think could happen? If you slow down the horse, then he would be able to determine the direction, right? And he would be able to determine that direction based on his values. Yeah. For instance, 500,000 of them are my inner critic focus. Absolutely. Absolutely right. So if the rider slowed down the horse, then he would have time to contemplate. He would have time to decide what he wants to experience. Maybe I should say she. So she would have time to contemplate the experience. She would have time to think about what she wants to see, what she wants to know in the world, who she wants to be with. And more importantly, if she slowed down that horse, she would be able to hear the voice of her inner compass. Now, who wouldn't like to hear the voice of their inner compass? Share that with the chat. Say yes if you'd like to hear the voice of your inner compass. Wouldn't that be awesome? So what if you could call on your inner wisdom at will? This is about that inner compass, right? What if you could live in alignment with your values? And what if you could keep the company of people who lift you up and support you and inspire you when you need it the most? What if you could grow from your crucibles? So from all the bad things that happen in your life, what if you could, instead of carrying them around as heavy baggage, what if you could grow from them instead? And what if you could make a meaningful contribution? And what if you could, perform, do whatever you want to do, whether or not you have confidence? So who cares if you have confidence or not? You're going to do what you want, right? Ashley says paradise. Yeah, absolutely paradise. What if you could focus on being fulfilled rather than being happy? And I put this in here because happiness, I see that as like a short-lived moment. So you can be happy for a moment, but and many moments will make fulfillment, but fulfillment is like bigger. Fulfillment is that deep feeling inside that you're doing the right thing. And fulfillment doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to be happy, but you will know that you're doing the right thing in your life and that your life has meaning. So that's the difference to me. Now, I want to tell you what we have going for us. So you can do all these things and know that what we have going for us is our inner compass. And I put this in here. We talked about thought earlier. And Stephen Hayes, for those of you who may be familiar with that, he wrote a book about ACT, acceptance commitment therapy. And his idea is that we need to, let me see, I've got the chat in front of it. We need to learn to do, what we need to learn to do is look at thought rather than from thought. So to go into that, I would need another extra hour. But the idea behind that is that instead of going along with every single thought of the 50,000 that we have in a day, we make choices about the thoughts that we're going to follow and the thoughts that we're not going to follow. That makes sense, right? Say yes or no. If that doesn't make sense, if you have a question about that, say yes or no. So the idea behind that is that we're thinking beings, and that sets us apart from other living beings, from animals, because the difference is they think too, but the difference is that we think in terms of relations. So that allows us to think into the past and into the future. Just think about this for a moment. A lot of the thinking that you do is about something that has taken place in the past or is going to happen. How much of the thought that you have is really about this moment right now? Fraser says, makes sense, but how to focus or follow through that one idea? Yeah, it's not so easy. There are a lot of techniques. I'll talk about it in a little bit, just after, in 2 slides or so. So, I told you about the 15,000 thoughts a day, and it takes us away from who we are. It takes us away from our essence because we keep grabbing onto every single thought that comes by. So we've got all these busy thoughts churning around in our mind, and the incessant chatter of your monkey mind. And it's like, just imagine a bowl of water with sand in it or mud, and imagine stirring it around. It's going to be murky, right? So that's kind of like your brain. You know, you can't think clearly if your brain is like murky water. So what you need to do is to look from clarity, to look at your life from clarity and do stuff. You want that water to be clear. You want your mind to be clear. So there's only one way to do that. And that is just to let it rest. Let all the murkiness drop down. Let it settle. And it's the murkiness that keeps you from making wise decisions or handling pressure. And it's the inner critic and all these thoughts that are all not, but they're not all that we have. So what we have going for us is our inner wisdom. And although this may sound cliche, but our inner wisdom is actually the essence of who we are. It's the other side. So we're not just inner critics, but we've got inner wisdom on the other side. And our inner wisdom is the voice inside of us that's connected with peace, with joy, with growth, with thriving, with a knowing. And we all know this. You know how the feeling when you're talking with someone and you know in an instant you can trust this person, or that you like someone, or somebody's telling you something and you just know that what they're saying is not true. So how many of you have this experience where you're in tune with your intuition, where you just know? You don't know where it comes from, but you just know things, right? So share that in the chat. Dolly says, thanks so much. Sorry, need to dash. Have a great day. Only the best. Please send me a link with a recording. Well, have a great day, Dolly. Thank you for joining us. Talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye. So what we often learn to be suspicious of this feeling. Freya says, yes, always. Asli says, I usually do. Yeah. Sometimes we learn to be suspicious of this. And I don't know about you, but my experiences in business, in my corporate life, I actually learned that some of the most successful salespeople that I used to work with, they worked from their gut feeling. They didn't say it. They didn't tell me that in the beginning. I had to find that out for myself. And I discovered that sometimes you can be in a meeting and you've got a gut feeling about something, but you can't say anything until you actually rationalize it and you make up a whole list of arguments, because people are not going to buy your gut feeling. So how do we actually access this? You know, you can use this to make decisions in your life. You can use this to use as a filter for those thoughts that are unhelpful. Faria says, I tend to know what the person is about. I can feel it in my bones, the energy the person brings in. Exactly, that's exactly what it is. And the hard part is that knowing, so we can feel that it comes at random, but you want to access that at will, right? Whenever it's convenient for you. Let me get the next slide. So the trick to that, or the trick, but the secret actually is to slow down. It's like that bowl of murky water I told you about. You need to slow down. When you slow down, your thoughts slow down, like the murky water. And once your thoughts simmer down, then you get clarity and you get the ability to look at the world from your inner wisdom. When you get stressed, when you panic, when you're, I don't know, you're standing in front of a bunch of people and you've got a presentation to make, or there's something that you're insecure about, just notice how your mind gets all really busy. So that's the murky water. It's like stirring in that water. So all you need to do really is to just slow down, realize that you've got all these thoughts in your busy mind that are going round and round. Slow down, let them settle. And whatever comes up at that moment when your mind is in clarity, that's when you've got access to your inner wisdom. And Professor Gata says, I did enjoy being with you today. However, I have to leave. No, unfortunately, to start my lecture, please send me the recording session. Pleased to meet you all of today. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor Gata.
I'm really sorry to disturb, but I wish to stay, but I have to go for the lecture right now. All
I
right.
understand.
I did really enjoy being with you today. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
All
Thank you
right.
so much. Enjoy
Bye,
your
everybody.
lecture.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye for now. Bye.
So I want to invite you one way to slow down our busy thoughts, and that is to realize that we are not our thoughts, because we tend to think, let's say, for example, you say you've got a really busy day. You say, oh, I'm really busy. I'm so stressed. That's just a thought. And you can take a little, you can slow that thought down by saying, I have a thought. So I have the thought that I'm really busy. I have the feeling that I'm really stressed. So that makes it just something that you have, not something that defines you, not something that you identify with. That's one way to slow down your thoughts. And it takes a little practice, and there are some techniques that you can learn to do, but this is one of the ways to slow down. And it's a really good way to slow down your busy thoughts. So for example, what about this? There's no such thing as a stressful situation. Do you agree with me or not? Let me know in the chat. Say yes or no. Do you agree with me that there's no such thing as a stressful situation? And let me tell you, it took me a really long time to learn this. And I was the person that burned out 3 times, remember? So I know all about stress. You agree, Carla. What I learned about stressful situation is that it depends on how you view that situation. It depends on your personal experiences and all the thoughts that you have about that situation. We create our reality with our thoughts. If you have 10 people consider the same situation, then each person is going to have a different perspective. Freya, I know what you mean, but there are times when physically the way your body feels. Yes, exactly. Because, you know, first of all, if a situation were stressful, inherently stressful, then everybody in that situation would find it stressful, but not everybody does. You know, some people can thrive in a stressful organization. But what happens is that we have thoughts. The reason that you're feeling it physically in your body is because something happens, an event happens, and it brings up a lot of thought in your mind. It's that murkiness. It's stirring in that bowl and making the water murky. And the busyness in your mind is going to have an effect on your nervous system. And that's why you're going to feel physical stress. So the next time you feel physical stress, remind yourself that your stress, your physical stress, is a reaction to a lot of busy thoughts in your mind. And if you can go back, and it's really hard, it takes a lot of practice, because the next time that's going to happen, that's not the first thing that you're going to think about. But it will remind you that that is actually what's going on. So you've got a choice to think, you know, what thoughts to latch onto, and then maybe take a moment and slow down, just slow down those thoughts and let the water settle to get clarity. So we actually live in the principle of thought taking form moment to moment, and we 100% of the time, and sometimes we're going to be able to see that, but a lot of the time we won't. It takes a lot of practice. So when we can actually see that, when I'm still learning myself, I've got a lot of practice and I'm learning, and it takes form in different ways as time goes on, but it is possible to live from your inner wisdom, from your true self, from your authentic self, and that helps you to live an authentic life, a life that is, you know, with a part of us that is creative and joyful and light, optimistic and confident. So that means that living from your inner compass, living from your inner wisdom, And inner wisdom is one element of the inner compass that I always talk about. There are many more elements. So Natalia says, I'm sorry I need to leave, for my meeting was great, very interesting and thought-provoking. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye, Natalia. So everybody's leaving, but I didn't get a chance actually to tell you that I've got an offer. So I hope you'll stay with me. I'm almost through. So let's slow down for a minute. And would you share with me what insights have you gotten? Is there anything that comes up now? Something that's new? Is there any insight that you got? Would you share that with me in the chat? I'd love to see what's going on with those of you that are still here. So let me get the ability to slow down thoughts. Right. Yeah. Great. My emotional health is my responsibility.
Arabella, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Yeah, I know how important it is to have a coach in every stages of our life. Many people hire a coach because they know they are built for some, or some people are going through big transition. And change can be difficult. Others might simply want more meaning in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us a tip on how to find a good coach, and what is the best characteristic we should look in a coach?
Yeah, actually, be clear about what you want, what your question is. That's one thing. What would you like to learn? Second, be open to what you want to learn is just a small bit of what you can learn and what you can be. So be ready to grow exponentially. And third, most of all, is exactly what I'm telling you about this hour. Listen to your intuition. If you meet a coach, first of all, look for that connection. You know, make sure that that you feel like you're on the same frequency. Being in a coaching relationship is actually very intimate. You get to know each other really well, and you're letting somebody in with whom you're daring to be vulnerable. So rely on your intuition when you're seeking out a coach. So I've got here, slow down.
In your own experience, do you choose people you coach, or you take everyone who comes to you?
No, I choose people I coach. Well, what I do is I have conversations with people, and that helps us find out, you know, what is the struggle and what is the vision that moves you forward. And if we feel during that conversation that we're a good match, and that there is something exciting that we can work towards, that there is a feeling of excitement, then we work together. But I have had instances where I've actually said, well, I think you need to find somebody else, or where it just doesn't really feel right. Or maybe even I've had a client who was actually not ready for coaching, as it turned out. So we started, but it turned out that she still needed to be much clearer on what she wanted to do. And she wasn't ready for coaching, because coaching can be confrontational. So I get to know somebody first before we start working together. And thank you, Carla. I think actually this would be a good moment to introduce that. Let me see if I can. I am giving away a coaching session if you want. So type in talk if you're interested in just a conversation, just to find out what's possible, you know? So that's why I'm giving away coaching sessions for everyone who is interested in discovering whether there's a way forward and what it looks like and what's possible for you. And it may be that after one session you're complete, or it may be after one session that you're thinking, well, I'm interested in finding out what's more for me. So write down talk in the chat if you're interested. Thank you, DSC. You've got one. Do I have the right slide? I can't see. I've got the chat in front. Yeah. So that was my question. You know, if you ready is whenever you feel you are. You can't wait in life until you're ready to do something, because ready is whenever you say. So go for that next step, and you know, take a leap. So what is the first small step that you're going to take? Think about that for a moment. And I really believe in you. Like I said, I believe that we all have the capacity to create the life that we want. We all have the capacity to grow and to come closer to ourselves and live authentic lives. I really do believe in you because I've seen it. I've seen it happen in my clients so many times. So this is how you can get in touch with me. And I don't have time for a recap. I think we're almost through the time. Are there any questions? Are there any questions from anyone? Hi, Faria. See, talk, making your vision board. Yeah. Asli says, I will keep asking. What are you going to keep asking, Asli? So let me know in the chat. Are there any questions out there?
You can turn on your... Unmute yourself, Asli, if you have a question, please.
Thank you so much. I need to get into another meeting.
Thank
We'll
you.
be in touch.
Thank you, Arabella.
Thank you, Kirsty.
And when you told me what I'm going to ask is because recently during Corona, I had all the time to make a self-check and to return to self. So right now I am learning how to ask questions to go deeper because it came out that there is always a cause of the cause of the cause. So the causes are going down deep inside. So that's why I said I will keep asking, because when you want to go to a direction and you are waiting in the other side, so you just go far away. That's
So
what I understood. So now I am learning to ask, and the main questions like why, what, how, who. But most important is why, because I am the who, and the rest is mainly why. That's why I said I'm going to keep asking. And well, I already talked too much, so now I'm going to talk and ask.
I get it. So you keep digging deeper. Actually, that's what coaching is about. It's about going deeper than you can do by yourself.
And very interestingly, and very referring to my personal experience recently, the more you ask, the more you lose weight. That is very interesting, because this is when you cannot find the answer, you have to satisfy yourself. So now I found out that once I'm answered, I don't eat too much. So just
thanks. That's a great tip. I'll try that, Asli.
Thank you so much, Arabella. Thank you so much, Cardella. It was awesome. I took my notes, and thank you for being so generous in sharing and caring. Thank you so much for both of you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. So if there's, I think a lot of us have left already and there's not much time, but if you've got a burning question, if there's something that you would like to learn about, if you'd like to know something, send me an email. Ask your question. I answer every email. So if you're watching this in the replay, just send me an email and let me know, would you like a coaching session, or would you like an answer to a question? And then we'll take the time to address that. So I guess for now, thank you very much for joining us. And it was an awesome presentation. It was awesome to be here with everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing us your insights, and thank you for being with us. I have taken a lot of notes as well.
Great, great. So I hope to hear from people, hear what they thought.
I have taken the information who has participated with us today, and I'll send it to you later on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I actually forgot to, I'm on LinkedIn. So anyone want to connect with me on LinkedIn, please do. That'll be great to stay in touch. Yeah.
Thank you all for coming today, and we'll see you next week, inshallah. Arabella, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And I'll keep in touch.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.